The chapter starts with a little summary of Big Mom's incident when she was a child. Then we see that many disasters befell Elbaf. A massive snowstorm prevented crops from being harvested, and giants were also unable to fish or hunt, which brought famine to Elbaf. Baby Loki managed to return to the castle, but Queen Estrid didn't want to see him. Baby Loki tried to hug his mother. He broke the door to enter in Estrid's room, but Estrid, full of hatred, rejected him. Baby Loki cried desperately as the soldiers took him out of the room. Estrid said, "It was all his fault. It's because we didn't kill him immediately that this nation is now cursed. Get him out. Never let that monster near me again. And destroy his eyes, or else everything will be cursed. The end of this nation is closing in on us." So yeah, this is kind of picking up from the end of the previous chapter. We saw that Loki's mother Estrid threw him off of the Atom Tree because of his eyes. And Loki, being the beast that he was, climbed back up the tree as a baby, and now we're seeing the aftermath. And yeah, unfortunately, it seems like Loki never received the love of his mother and still continued to be rejected because of his eyes. And her saying a curse is interesting because that might literally play into like whatever supernatural thing that this is related to might be, as related to Loki's eyes. Due to disasters, Elbaf was on the brink of destruction. The giants tried to attack Hyrden because he was related to Curse Prince Loki, but Harold returned to Elbaf just in time to help Harold and Ida. Harold said, "My brothers, do not hurt each other." The same time I received the news that Loki is born, I also heard of the famine that is raging through this nation. I immediately discussed that issue with countries whom we have a diplomatic relationship with, and with that they just filled their ships with food, no question asked. The humans are all so small compared to us, but several countries work together and are delivering food that is enough to fill even the belly of us giants. Let's accept their help and eat the food with gratitude. And one day when they need our help, let's give it to them all. It's a small world that we all share. So yeah, we're seeing more of Harold and his ascent to full-blown altruism, I guess. He started off rough around the edges, but once he met Hyrden's mother, Ida, everything changed for him and he became what we, I guess, know the legend of him to be. In an amazing double page, we see tons of human ships arriving to Elbaf. All of them transported massive bags of food to help the giants. Estrid died right before Harold came back to Elbaf. We see Harold crying at the funeral. Ida decided to move to the underworld and built a bar where we see Colin and Shanks in the present. So yeah, Loki's mother Estrid died. And I guess that means that he never received love or acceptance from her, which may play into Loki's ultimate character arc, where Luffy is the one who accepts him because of his eyes. Like, I think towards the end of this arc, we're going to see that moment where Luffy sees Loki's eyes and he's going to be like, "They're awesome, man." And, it's going to warm Loki's cold heart. And also a little interesting thing here, that bar that we saw Shanks and Colin in, I think it was before he tapped up Kid, maybe. That's Hyrden's mother's Ida's bar. Harold was busy with developing roads to connect Elbaf villages and end all fighting in the country, so Loki grew up with Estrid's younger brother, no name for this character yet, who also abused him. Sometime later, it seems that this man was killed by creatures from the underworld. To prevent more problems, giant soldiers covered Loki's eyes, claiming that he had an eye disease. Okay, interesting. This is like why Loki has the covering on his eyes. It's not because of the trauma from his mom. It's actually from just other soldiers like trying to protect him, I guess. But it's interesting that he still wears them because he doesn't really have to anymore. He's by far the strongest giant in Elbaf. There's not even a close second to him. But I guess it's just a part of his character now and he just continues to wear them. Or maybe it's like for like training or whatever, because he does have future sight, pretty good at that. So it's like, once he takes off his bandages, then his power level goes up times 2. Cut to 56 years ago at Jarl's house. Harold and Jarl were talking about conflicts between giants and the world government. Jarl says, "Harold, you were at the reverie where that incident occurred?" Classic Oda. Harold says, "Yeah, I asked a king who's my friend to help me sneak in as a soldier. In the end, my request fell on deaf ears. If that murder didn't occur, I may have been arrested." Jarl said, "Just being arrested would have been nothing. How ruthless. Have you heard of the story of the Galira? In Japanese, the kanji means giant hammer warriors." Harold says, "I think it was some group of tough giant shipwrights. Some warriors with hammers. Some myth, right?" Jarl says, "No, they were real. They sailed far beyond Elbaf and sent home a letter from where they went. The content of the letter was along the lines of, "We have all been captured. Can you believe it? Over 100 warriors, ancient giant included, all captured by someone." Harold wondered if they were captured by the world government. Jarl replied that they all can say for sure it is a great enemy existed in the past, but that part of their history was sunk deep into the ocean on a faithful day. Jarl finished saying that he heard a rumor that the Galila members are frozen somewhere. When Jarl talks about the Galila, we can see in the background some of their silhouettes, and at least two of them are two of the frozen giants that Nami and Chopper saw in Punk Hazard. Whoa, that's wild. But first, let's talk about our favorite Japanese artisan subscription snack box, and that's Sakurako. Because this month's box is Mount Fuji Summertime, and it's packed with snacks and treats that celebrate Mount Fuji and the traditions from the regions that it watches over. It also comes with this great booklet that explains all of the snacks in the box, as well as Japan and its culture. Sakurako boxes also come with one tableware item, and this month it's the Mount Fuji dish. So first I tried the matcha genmaicha tea because it pairs with everything in the box. This one in particular was crafted with a high-grade Shizuoka sencha, and it is amazing. Next I tried the matcha friand. This was really indulgent and moist, and it has this really nice matcha flavor to it. Next I tried the Akko salt agamochi. These are crispy and puffy at the same time and have this nice roasted salt flavor to them. So guys, you can get your very own Sakurako box by checking the link in the description, and make sure you use code Zhoniin for $5 off your first box. Thanks guys. So yeah, back in Punk Hazard, we did see a bunch of frozen giants. It wasn't really like touched on too much, but apparently these two big giants in the back are a part of the original Galila. Galila, of course, is, you know, the group of shipwrights that we saw back in Water 7, but now it seems like they got their name from this original group who very likely made Pluton, the ancient weapon. Now, how did they get frozen down at Punk Hazard? Probably has something to do with Emu for sure. I mean, I would bet on it. If anything, this is Emu written all over it. And if they're frozen here, then there might be a parallel to the Jewel Ice Sheet. Like in Don Chinjiao's flashback, we saw him striking the Jewel Ice Sheet and storing his treasure there. And the special thing about that is that it would like regenerate the ice. Like if you crack the ice, it would come back together magically every single time. So it was like, you know, a great place to hide stuff. And it's very likely the result of a devil fruit, and it's because that it's hiding the corpses of ancient giants down there. Just take a guess, but it seems like that's what's going on here. Cut to 48 years ago. After the Beasts incident in the villages, Kid Loki jumped from the Sun World to the Underworld by himself. Loki crashed heavily to the ground. Then he took out his blindfold and cried alone, saying he can't even die. So, whoa, Loki just tried to take himself out here, which, you know, says more about how tortured Loki is. Even though he's not innocent. He's not completely innocent. I mean, you know, his childhood was messed up. It wasn't really his fault. But anyway, obviously parallels here to Kaido, who did the same thing. That's, I think, when we were first introduced to Kaido, him jumping off of a sky island and, you know, plunging into the ground below and then just eating it. And then coming across Kid, Apu, and Hawkins. So I guess this is just another little wink from Oda saying that, yes, Kaido and Loki are half-brothers. I mean, come on. Suddenly a mountain was cut in half in the distance and someone talks. The mystery man says, "What the heck is the deal with this island? Where is the entrance?" A group of people approached Loki. Shiki, Whitebeard, Buckingham Stussy, and a mystery man. The mystery man says, "Ah, there we go, a giant brat. I told you we're an Elbaf." Shiki says, "Yeah, this kid has the face of a devil." Whitebeard says, "Isn't he huge even for a giant? And is he crying right now?" And in an epic final page of the chapter, we discover that the mystery man is Rox D. XEBEC. XEBEC's face was very similar to Teach's face. Same eyes, nose, mouth, but XEBEC still has all of his teeth, lol. He had spiked hair with black and white locks, wore earrings, and also had a scar, or tattoo, not sure yet, on the left side of his face. He was a big guy like Teach, but thinner. The chapter ends with XEBEC's official presentation. The narrator says, Harold encountered this man at the Reverie 8 years ago, during which this man escaped after killing an admiral of the Marine headquarters, and is currently hunted by the world government, who has placed a bounty on his head. XEBEC says, alright, say yes to both of my questions, kid, because that is the answer I'm seeking right now. First, is this place that nation of giants called Elbaf? Second, it's better that Harold be here. Rox D. XEBEC later became the captain of the Rox Pirates, father of Blackbeard, one of the 4 emperors. The legend appears. Alright, there it is. The big reveal. We're seeing what Rox looks like. Looks like Blackbeard with white and black hair. I'm assuming that's supposed to go into duality of like good and bad Ds or something. You know, there's like the good Ds like Luffy, and then there's the bad Ds like Blackbeard. I think we're seeing that parallel go throughout history. There was like Rox and Roger, and then before that, I'm sure there was like an analog to Joy Boy as well. And then even before that, there was probably one for Nika. 2 Ds, I guess, competing to see who will bring the dawn, or whatever D means. Both going against Emu, but both in their own way. You know, one full-blown paragon of truth, and then one anti-hero or anti-villain. Now, as for Rox being Blackbeard's father, this was one of the biggest theories about Blackbeard and Rox. Finally came to fruition here. How does it work? Not really sure. Did he leave Blackbeard at God Valley the same way that Shanks was left there by Garling? Not really sure, because he wasn't really picked up until Whitebeard randomly found him. And also it goes into like who's Blackbeard's mother, and since Blackbeard is a D, she for sure died of a mysterious illness. And then it says here that Rox was similar to Blackbeard in size. I guess maybe Rox is a buccaneer possibly. If not, Blackbeard's mother was a buccaneer. It goes back to that theory. And it goes back to when Saturn was talking to Katarina Devon. He said that Blackbeard has a special lineage or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, and I guess it just means that, yeah, he's the son of Rox. Or it could be more, is that he's the son of Rox, but they're also all, you know, buccaneers. Anyway, there's a lot more that we're going to be talking about in tomorrow's video or Friday's video. Once we get to actually see what Rox looks like, we'll go way more into Rox and Blackbeard connection stuff. But let me know what you think about all this stuff in the comments, guys. If you liked the video, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.